Hey guys, so welcome to the next episode of An Education Podcast. And me and Nathan thought we'd talk a little bit more about our personal journeys as a coach, and we're going to talk about our mistakes that we've made as coaches from when we first started all this like 12 years ago, and what we thought we believed to be true, and what we've actually now realized is probably a load of bullshit, and how things have changed since when me and Nathan started, and what we, like I said, what we believed at the start to not believing at this moment in time. And like I'll start off in regards to like I started off in a very, very functional way, which is great from an anatomy point, and like, I think that's where like my passion for knowledge come from. But like I used to stretch people's hip flexors for like 30, 40 minutes within a session, trying to make the hips function better. So when they lunge better, they'll be able to be more efficient when they lunge. And it was never going to bring them the transformation what they probably wanted. And from a nutritional standpoint, it was very holistic based, where it was all whole foods and we weren't really having much dairy and gluten, and it wasn't really calorie tracked as such. And from me being like I've always been into physique development and bodybuilding, there's little bit of a different way for me to potentially coach people than what I was used to. But unfortunately probably didn't get the results that people were coming in for at that moment in time. And that what they wanted, which was potentially to lose some weight and look good and get a six pack and potentially build some shoulders. And lunging with a viper over your head just won't do that, unfortunately. And that was a big mistake that when I look back and I was like, fucking hell. There's definitely some benefits to it, but yeah, from a transformation point of view, I wouldn't be doing that again.
It's one of them, though, mate, isn't it? Like with stuff like that, with all due respect, at first you kind of like just like you're thinking, oh, this will help this
Yeah,
person.
yeah,
Not really like this is what this person wants me to do for them.
yeah.
Like this will help. And I think sometimes with PT as well, you're kind of just thinking about what can I learn this person new this session.
Mm.
Do you know what I mean? Instead of kind of going, what's the goal? What drives them quicker to that goal? I think a lot of PTs think, what can I do in this session that they don't know and they've not done before?
Yeah, I
I
also
know,
think
I know that's how I used to think when I first started PTing.
I think like you looked at every session as a chance for someone to it had to be novel, didn't it? Like, every single
Mm.
time someone come in, it had to be entertaining and fun. And like there has to be some fun element, but I think that's where the personality comes through, as like when you're having it with the session. But PT sessions in regard to they should be quite structured and rigid, and mine definitely weren't like that. There was no, to be fair, we did have some kind of tracking system, but mate, like when I look back on it, mate, don't even think I can remember what the fuck I used to write down them. It was definitely some nomenclature. And like I wouldn't be able to potentially read that now, if I'm being honest with you. It's like how much degrees of hip flexion and extension could they get within this movement? And like that was their progress, if that made sense. But Sally
Yeah,
was still eating the fucking cake. So she still wasn't dropping on the scales.
yeah,
Body fat calipers, but we only done 4 points with plastic calipers. So again, that probably wasn't
yeah.
as accurate. Um, yeah, there's loads of things when I think when you start off coaching that like we talk about exposure a lot, don't we? And it's like we got exposed to a load of things that we potentially don't do anymore because we know it's probably not going to be moving the client closer towards the goal of what they want.
And it's one of them, though, mate, innit? You need to like muddle through that shit almost in order to know what does and doesn't work, or you do and don't like doing with clients. I mean, I know like when I first started PT and I was in like a transformation style gym and it was more functional, kind of like you said, and it was all class based. We helped people. We had like transformation challenges, 8, 10, 12 week ones. And we kind of made everyone restrict absolutely fucking everything for that amount of time. And then didn't give them no aftercare. So there was no kind of like 2 weeks aftercare of like bringing you back up to maintenance calories and trying to help you maintain the weight that you've dropped off. Obviously, what that did was just created this conveyor belt of people who would fucking restrict for a length of time in between challenges, go and do whatever they want, eat whatever they want, drink alcohol, still come and train at the gym. Some people wouldn't, they'd fuck off for 6 weeks and jump on next challenge. Do you know what I
Yeah.
mean? And like obviously I was part of that. Obviously that was the gym structure that earned them money. And obviously the gym that I work for, they're still going today. They're actually a High Rocks gym now. But that's kind of probably when I say a mistake by myself, it definitely is. Like I never handled people correctly afterwards. probably throughout. I mean, like I would pull people's calories too low from the start. I remember doing that a lot of times when I think back now, and starting people on lower calorie and then wondering why they're not dropping, or wondering why some people were dropping fucking loads. Some people were dropping fucking loads because
Yeah,
they
yeah,
actually stuck to the calories I set on. Do you know what I mean? So they'd actually fucking starve themselves, and which we laugh, right, and we don't think it's like funny in terms of like, well, like harming people almost, but it's kind of just like, what fucking spastics, like what retards we was. And I just, obviously, if you're listening this, don't pull people's calories too low too soon, people, because they'll one not stick to it, or two, if they do, they'll probably lose muscle. And I think that's what kind of happened with a lot of the people who came, that they would have definitely lost muscle. I remember in one challenge, which was 12 weeks, I think a guy pulled off 60 pound,
fair play.
which that's obviously he was a bigger guy, had 60
Yeah.
pound lose. And don't get me wrong, he probably improved his health throughout that just from pulling 60
Yeah.
pounds. He was a big guy. But is that too much for fucking 12 weeks? Probably.
Five,
Do you know what I
£5 a
mean?
week on average, that.
Exactly, exactly. That's savage.
I think the hard thing about that as well is like then the client thinks that's the norm. Do you know what I mean?
Exactly.
Like again, like when me and Nathan are talking here, like we're talking as like we've been 12 years in the industry now, and we can sit back and reflect on things, and we can say now we do things differently. And I'm sure Nathan and I in 5 more years will potentially say we'll do things differently than what we're doing now because we're continuously learning. But I'm trying to think of anything. What I used to do as well, like looking back on it, is like, do you know what everyone else tries to be now, a jack of all trades. So for example, we'll get clients doing like 4 sets of 8 to 12 on a dumbbell press. And then at the end, then we'll get them running like a mile.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
it's
yeah.
like that session's got no structure at all. You're just trying to make someone stronger and fitter. But as I said, like with the goal being aesthetics, that's probably not being in line with it. And I think that's what, I'm being honest, I think that's what loads of coaches do now with their own training, where like they're trying to build muscle but still get good at long distance running and all this. And again, from like my mistakes, like I know that's not the way because I've had clients do it. I've definitely brought down people's calories too low, but also thinking clients are telling me the truth.
Yeah,
Where
yeah.
people just like anyone listens to this, look, your clients probably are lying to you, and there's numerous reasons why they're lying to you. But if your client is in a deficit, the scale should be going down. And it's hard. I think one's harder than online because you've got the person in front of you saying, "Yeah, I'm sticking to it," and it's like, and you've built a relationship and a rapport with this person, and then they're stepping on the scales and they're not sticking to it, or the scale's not moving, and you think, fuck, I have to bring the food down. But then Instagram wasn't even a thing when we were starting, so you couldn't even like stalk your clients in
Yeah.
regards like, oh, they're going out on the weekend, and then it slips 3 sessions in, 3 weeks down the line that yeah they went out, and you're like, I've just moved your food, and they didn't need to move your food, and yeah, these are definitely things that we've all made mistakes on. I think it's easy now to track clients because of social media.
This is a good one. This isn't a mistake. This is a funny story, actually. I remember I coached a man and his wife, right? And I was on to the man. I started learning a bit more about calorie deficit, and I was like, you need to be in a deficit to lose fat and all this. And I'd learned by this point. This was probably about 6 years into my PT career, maybe 5 years. So I'd started learning a bit more, started looking at James Smith. James Smith was kind of
Yeah.
actually learning fucking PTs, how to fucking coach people, to be honest. And then, anyway, so then, as I said, I coached a fella and his wife. The fella, I'd lost him a load of weight. He'd done really well. And then I was like, don't go out this weekend, because he used to go out a few times. He's a bit of an older chap, but loved the beer. I was like, don't go out this weekend because this is your last week. I want some final thoughts. I want them to be good, right? So anyway, guy went out a weekend, didn't tell me. Weight didn't change. I knew that he was lying to me, but what can you say? You're in a PT room one to one. I'm
Yeah.
like, okay, no worries. Then his wife says to me, because I PT'd her as well, and she goes, "Don't tell Mark I've told you, but he went out at weekend and he told me not to tell you." So I was like, fuck her. But I can't say anything to him because I'm going to get you in shit now.
Yeah,
So I
yeah,
just I just have thought, keep it short, keep your mouth shut, and kind of go, oh well, it's only a week. But yeah, that just sprung to my mind then about like people lying to you, because like as I've just proven, it fucking happens.
yeah.
People are on. ashamed almost, and they don't want you to judge them, or the kind of like they don't want to let you down is a big one as well.
I
But
also think, like we've spoken about this, like they don't care as much. And what I mean by that is like if they mess up on the Friday, they'll usually go, Justin, right, I'm just gonna start this again on a Monday. And they'll just ignore Saturday and Sunday. And it's like it's just because they're not as invested into the whole thing of what we are as coaches. And that's not right or wrong. It's just sometimes as coaches, I think we need to potentially take a step back and go, these are people who live in the real world. We potentially are a little bit more sheltered of what the real world's like. But mates, I used to hold boxing sessions in my session sometimes. I just realized that. So
well, we had box fit classes us, so
Mate, oh, I remember once, right? I held a class, and I was nowhere near as big as what I am now. But also, I was always a confident person, but not confident like to scream at people in a class and be bouncing around and that charismatic. And when I look
yeah,
back, it was the most boring class ever.
yeah.
Yeah, mate, I was so rigid and like, yeah, I'm not that kind of person who can like bring up a room full of energy and start screaming and shouting, doing burpees and all that. But I used to hold a class at 6 o'clock on a Saturday morning.
See, I was quite good because I mean, I developed into the class instructor because I did quite a few classes in my early days. Like
Oh,
I'd
fair
do
enough.
like obviously I'd not take part in the class. It'd just be where I'd be walking around and pushing people and making sure people are doing correct exercises and punching bag hard enough and stuff like that. But I remember I actually developed into quite the instructor myself. I remember actually dropping classes. And you know what? If I could take a class again now, I reckon I'd jump at the chance just for old
You
time's
reckon?
sake. I mean, I wouldn't do it. I wouldn't do it every week. Yeah. Um, I wouldn't do it every week. I couldn't be asked. I just, it doesn't, it doesn't intrigue me enough to do it every week. But if like someone offered me one week, I probably would.
Oh, no, sorry, I couldn't think of any worse. But like, I think it was hard for me as well because we had this woman called Harriet McGuffey, and anyone from Liverpool will know who she is. She owns I think she's got a gym in, I don't know now, Wolver, anyway, she got a gym in Walton. I think it might be in Walton, Liverpool. And she is the most energetic bunny, like Duracell bunny, hilarious. And like trying to follow her, knowing she couldn't do it on the weekend and
Yeah,
something, it's
yeah.
just like you're never living up to that standard. But yeah, mate, like I think like as I said, like when we were all younger in this industry, we've definitely all made silly mistakes. And I think this is where coaches though, they're afraid to make the mistakes, like they're afraid to sort of like do things that they think that they believe in at that moment in time. And it's like they're all trying to be the same and they're all trying to be like we were speaking about people not being a bit too safe. Like we can argue that the fact that we potentially push people a little bit too hard when it comes to nutrition, we've now learned that you don't have to push as hard to get the results. But until you've pushed the needle with people and you actually find out what people are quite capable of doing, you never know where that boundary is. And I feel like the industry sometimes now is a little bit too safe. It's like everyone's a
Mm.
little bit too afraid to potentially compromise health. Whereas you can argue what you definitely did was compromise health at some points, and I've definitely done that as well.
Oh,
Um,
100%.
I'm trying to think of like was I went from that gym to then work for Absolute Body Solutions. And that was a transformation gym. We done like 6 week transformations. And obviously when you're working in a short time frame to get a dramatic response, there needs to be a dramatic like protocol essentially. So I've definitely learned from that in regards to like the
But
sustainability of it, and we got good
I
results,
think
mate. Like at the end of the
Well,
day,
I
like,
think I think though, mate, like if you put someone in a harsh deficit, as long as you communicate properly with them that it's going to be hard and they buy in, and that you give them some aftercare afterwards, I don't think there's much wrong with it as long as the time frame's not too long. Do you get what I mean?
yeah, like
Like, for example, say if you do a rapid fat loss with someone,
mhm.
that's okay to do with someone as long as you explain rapid fat loss, you explain how they're going to feel, they buy into that, and you afterwards, you kind of help them afterwards with like maintenance calories, you do like a refeed day each week. Do you know what I mean? I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I think that just back then, me and you didn't know we was doing it. We was just
Yeah, yeah,
fucking doing it. Do you
yeah,
get what I mean?
yeah. And I think like people demonize like meal plans and very structured approaches and very restricted diets, but if a client wants to lose 15 pounds in I don't know 6 weeks. Like there's only so much you can do when it comes to flexibility, and there's going to have to be a bit of a dramatic output as well from the client. And look, at the end of the day, it's
Exactly.
the client. Like we should always be trying to advise the client the best they can from a health perspective. But if the client wants to lose 15 pounds, they're going to want to lose 15 pounds. and they're going to go with whoever says they can lose 15 pounds. So how I look at this is like, at least if I take it over, at least I know I'm going to have their health at the forefront of my mind throughout this
Mm.
process. Whereas if they just give it to some other coach who just doesn't care about the health, they're just going to bury him in the ground. Like, especially now when we're battling all these fat loss injections and things like that, we've got to make sure that we can, one, get the client to lose the 15 pounds. But as you said before, rightly so, is also that aftercare aspect of it, telling people how to maintain. So, yeah, I think the short, fast diets are being demonized, but I think they play a role still, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think everything does, doesn't it, mate? Like, I think it's client dependent. Like, you get a client who's maybe struggled with food in the past, you probably want to take a more slow approach with that person, and probably the rapid fat loss wouldn't.
Yeah.
I definitely wouldn't do. Do you know what I mean? But say if someone's like, for example, myself or yourself, we're experienced dieters, and we won't go, well, I want to get in and out. I'd be like, cool, 6, 8 weeks, let's rip it all off, and then
Yeah.
let's push you up. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, and I think like another definitely a mistake that I've made is like not just literally having clients dieting all year round. Like literally not putting any planned maintenance phase in, not pushing calories up. Obviously, the client's been in adherent, and we get this question a lot, and I'll answer this um on this call. But we like obviously everybody should be putting maintenance phases throughout a dieting phase. We probably all know this by now, and if you don't, it's cool. You should be doing one every like 12 to 16 weeks of dieting. And I never used to do that. Yeah, I just used to be like, well, we're just dieting. We want to get to X amount of weight, and we've been fucking up for a couple of weeks, so we just keep dieting. And coaches that we have on our mentorship always ask us, but if a client's been pushing the calories up to maintenance throughout when they've maybe been dieting, can we not class that as a maintenance phase? And I always say no. And the reason is because they're pushing the calories up from crap quality foods. It's never going to be from good quality food. So it's actually going to cause them to be more nutrient deficient. So we want to just run planned, controlled maintenance phases in with these people anyway. But I definitely never used to do that 100%. That is a
Mate,
definitely
I don't think it was a thing though 10, 12 years ago where you'd structure someone's
no.
diet over 12, 18, 24 weeks. Like that definitely wasn't a thing. And I don't even know where it come from. If I'm being honest, it's like when we first started coaching, it was Charles Poliquin, Paul Check. I'm trying to think of all the names that are probably like quite big in the industry. Um,
Um,
Phil
yeah,
Mansfield.
yeah. Phil Lerner.
Phil Laney was just come. Mark Cole's probably just started like creeping up.
Mm,
It's like these are but like Mark Cole's and Phil Laney would have learned potentially off like such Joe of Charles Poliquin. And like it was never really spoken about in regards to like structured diets, like having a maintenance phase after X amount of weeks and then pulling the back. That was never a thing. So the industry's definitely evolved from that. Mate, I've just remembered the one thing. I used to get people doing the monkey bars.
mm. What the monkey bars?
So we had like in the first year of weight loss, we had like no one you literally say like a functional section. Yeah,
Oh,
so we had monkey bars like that went like ascending. So every single time you went up one, it was higher. So we had one there, which is just fucking dangerous, isn't it, when you think of it? And then you got fucking like a fucking 7 foot drop, 8 foot drop at the top.
you
And then we
know.
had ones like no horizontal.
Yeah,
Yeah, and like we clients used to do monkey bars.
oh mate, when I'm thinking about this, fuck me, I wish I could rewind time to 10
Oh,
years ago
mate.
and just relive it one more time.
Mate, I remember right. I go so we had, no we never had box jumps. We had like so it's like a metal step that used to slide in. So like you can make it higher based off like knows if like you were adjusting the
Yeah,
height
yeah.
of like of a rack or something like
Yeah.
that. And mate, I remember I had one client and we were just seeing how high they could get the jump. No idea why now. This is fucking 10 years ago, right? And mate, they didn't make it. It's metal, didn't they? And they just racked the shin on it. And I remember
Oh,
bleeding in the session.
yeah. Well, weird you said that. So my dad made us like higher, um, like wooden boxes,
Yeah.
and he didn't sand the edges off. So I remember a woman jumped on one once and split a shin completely open on one of
Oh,
them. Yeah, that it weren't actually my client. It was in a class that. But then we
yeah.
had to stop using the boxes then.
Dangerous.
Yeah.
Oh,
So
it's like as you said, it's not funny, but it's good to sit back and reflect on. Because like what I would argue is like nothing we did was dangerous. So the
No.
client's health and the client's well-being was always taken into account. Even when you were doing like silly low-calorie diets, all we were doing was trying to help the client get to their goal essentially. But
And let's be
well,
honest, like not many clients were sticking to them low calories anyway.
no,
Do you know what I mean?
no,
So
mate.
it's it's kind of like we was putting them there. But I think the main thing that I think in terms of like what I wish I did, I educated people more on is like the psychology around dieting. So it doesn't mean that you have to be so restrictive all the time. Like I preach now is like an element of restriction is needed throughout the whole of our lives, and the restriction, um how restrictive we be will depend on where we're currently at, should we say. But I think in the past, I would be like, you need to be super restrictive, and then it'd be like, oh no, it's cool. Do you
Yeah,
get what
yeah,
I
yeah.
mean? So that just creates that mindset of like all or nothing mindset, doesn't it? Yeah.
Mm. Trying to think of anything else.
So
We should just wrap it up there.
I can't think of anything else that
I
I
think
can't.
I think the monkey bars there is probably fucking the pinnacle of my
Yeah.
fucking stupid mistakes. Right?
But
If
yeah,
any of
well,
the listeners have made any silly mistakes to start their career, please leave it in the comment section below. We'd love to hear about it because again, as long as you learn from your mistakes, they're not bad things, they're just lessons. So yeah, we're really intrigued to see what everybody else's coaching mistakes at the start were.
thanks everyone.
Thank you.